Chatters, chatties, rescuers, welcome home for a Great American Chat, a podcast where we chat about great American media. I'm Chad Maurice, and no, you are not seeing things. That is not positively Brad you're looking at. It is someone who knows how to load a gurney into an ambulance. It is Cricket from Dishing with the DonoFans. Welcome back, Cricket.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you so much. How you doing?
I am doing okay, and I have to show you. I have my cup here.
Oh, sweet. Yep, that's awesome.
I use it every day.
Awesome. Very good. I love a good mug.
Now, Brad was unable to join, so I messaged Cricket this afternoon and asked if she could fill in. And she said, of course, you can always count on a Dono fan.
That's right.
And speaking of the Dono fans, Trev D is hosting the Movie Guide Awards tomorrow night. The Dono fans are going to be going wild.
Yes, we will be.
Now, are you going to be on X? You're going to be posting on X while it's on?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. That's like a tradition. You know, it's a Dono fan tradition for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, tonight we are chatting about the second episode of County Rescue. And it's good that you are here because you were an EMT in the service, right?
Yes, I was.
And, we got someone in the chat. Ah, Jackie's here.
Hey, Jackie.
Cricket is a gem.
Oh, thank you, Jackie.
So, like I said, I'm glad that you're here. You can give us some insight on what an EMT is all about, what they do, and the stress that EMS workers deal with on a daily basis.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go into that right now?
No, not yet. Not yet. We'll get into it when we get into the episode.
Got it.
But before we get into the episode, Great American Family announced they're going to have an Easter movie on March 26th titled Just in Time. It stars Laura Osnes, Grayston Holt, and Peter Bryant. And this one is about a married couple. And it's not about two strangers who fall in love. The couple is married. And I have a synopsis here that says Hannah, played by Laura, and her husband Rowan, played by Grayston, have focused all their time, energy, and attention in trying to have a baby. The pressure to complete their family starts weighing heavily on their relationship. The couple is left questioning if having a child is the right thing to do and if they are still right for one another. So we got some marital problems going on. Hannah receives a call from a stranger named Franklin, played by Peter, who claims to have discovered an antique watch on the beach bearing an inscription unique to Hannah and Rowan. Franklin is certain the watch is a long-lost heirloom from Hannah's family. In the end, Franklin helps Hannah see that the answers to all she seeks will be revealed in God's time.
Wow.
So there you go. And they're airing it on a Tuesday night. I'm not sure why they're doing that. I don't quite understand why they wouldn't air it on a Saturday night. But I guess they have their reasonings.
Yeah, I guess they do.
So let's get into County Rescue. So the episode opens. We see Danny and Tim arriving at County Rescue for their 5th shift. They're talking about how unfair the Griffin situation is, and they agree that they are going to bury him. So we have some camaraderie going on between the two of them. In the first episode, they were competing against each other. Now in this episode, they're going to join forces to compete against Griffin. So I thought this was a pretty cool opening scene.
Yeah, I did too. I liked how they were, talking about how they're going to get back and they're going to get back in the game, and like they go to high five each other and they miss. And I thought that was so cute. Yeah. I was like, that's all right. You'll get in sync. Don't worry. But yeah, it was a cute scene.
Marcos brings the chief drawings of Danny
Mm.
Griffin and wants to know what they are for. He says, for my secret leaderboard.
Mhm.
Marcos and Duke ask, did you do that with us? The chief looks at them and doesn't answer. Then he says, you want a Slim Jim?
Yeah. I was like, that's a way to defer from the subject for sure. Get out the Slim Jims.
Yeah, the chief cracks me up again.
He's good at distraction.
Yeah. Then they ask, how long have you been doing this? And he dodges their question and says, they're good for you. You can have them with coffee.
Right.
Obviously referring to the Slim Jims.
Yeah, I don't think I would eat a Slim Jim with coffee. That's just me personally, but you know.
Yeah, so funny scene again with the old chief.
Yeah, I thought those drawings were good too.
Yeah. They said on the Instagram Live that Bill Abbott did with Scotty and Liz. They said who did the drawings. I don't know. It was someone on the crew. I don't know who it was, but someone who works on the show. So Danny and Tim are in the ambulance having a competition. They are timing each other to see who can stock the ambulance faster. She reaches into a box and pulls out a statue of a Hawaiian girl dancing that Tim put in there. And this was a callback to the first episode when they were washing the ambulance, and Tim asked her if she could go anywhere in the world, where she would go, and she said Hawaii. Did you pick up on that?
Yes. Yeah. I thought it was really cute that he thought of her and brought that, for her.
Yeah. Danny beats her personal best time. They give each other a congratulatory hug, and things get awkward and uncomfortable. And Danny says, I gotta go. And she runs off.
Very awkward scene.
Yeah. But Tim giving her that Hawaiian girl dancing statue, that showed a lot of things about him. It showed that he listens to her when she talks, and he remembers what she says, and it shows that he's starting to care about her a little bit, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He's remembering, like you say, the conversations. He is, being nice to her. He's like trying to help her learn. Yeah, he's got a little thing for her.
And it was kind of funny that they got awkward around each other because it was just a hug. I mean, it wasn't a kiss.
Right.
But I guess both of them are so sweet and innocent that a hug is a big deal to them.
Yes, I'm right on that.
Yeah.
Well, and they're still learning their positions, and they're in competition, and I think that without knowing if that's acceptable to do that in that profession because they're so green or new, maybe partly why, they felt a little awkward.
That's true. So the rest of the crew is playing a game. Griffin arrives late with donuts. Danny and Tim are shocked that Scotty doesn't say anything to Griffin about being late. Danny says, let's form an alliance like they do on Survivor. Tim says, yeah, you got it. They start bad-mouthing Griffin without realizing he is standing right behind them. He offers them a donut. Danny says, I prefer cupcakes. Tim starts to reach for a donut, but Griffin rudely pulls the box away and says, let's save them for the regular crew in case they want seconds.
Yeah.
Now, during this conversation, Griffin calls Tim Timmy, and Tim corrects him and says, my name is Tim. Griffin completely ignores him, and Danny insults Griffin, tells him that he looks like a bird, and Griffin calls Tim Timmy again at the end of the scene, right before he leaves. So in this scene, we see that Griffin can be rude when he wants to be. Yeah.
Well, I think he handled it pretty well considering he walks up and they're talking about him,
Yeah.
So I think in all retrospect, he handled himself pretty professional and still respectful in a way when he could have maybe handled that a whole lot differently.
Okay. And in this scene, we also see an immature side of Danny when she is insulting Griffin's looks, which kind of surprised me a little bit.
Yes, me too, actually. she's, this is a new job. But I mean, I kind of understand where she was coming from, because, here's this guy and he's his son, right? He's Scotty's son, right?
No, he's the fire chief's son.
Oh, he's the fire chief's son. Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense. I don't know why I thought he was Scotty's son.
Yeah, he's just good friends with Scotty.
Okay, that makes more sense then. But
Yeah.
here he is. He's got this in with the whole crew, because his dad is the fire chief. But and she's like, how am I going to get past this? Like he's like golden in their eyes, and he's late today. So it surprised me too to hear her kind of make those statements with him also.
Yeah. So a call comes in about an adult male found in a dumpster. Scotty sends Duke and Marcos out. They come back and they say it was a homeless guy that they know. The three recruits are unpacking some boxes. Danny apologizes to Griffin about calling him a bird. Griffin says we should hang out outside of work, just as friends. He says, don't worry, there won't be any romance, at least not on my part. Griffin. I think he thinks a little highly of himself.
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah,
but that's okay. You need confidence in that job, so I'll give credit for that.
She says, I just ended an engagement. And Tim's like, huh? He gets a surprised look on his face when he heard that.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So it was nice to see Danny apologize to Griffin. And Griffin still does not apologize to Tim for being a jerk about the donuts or for calling him Timmy.
No, and I had to laugh because, first, here she's saying she just broke off this engagement. And so Griffin's being really sympathetic. And then, Tim is behind going, like, the look on his face, like, oh my God, like she just broke up like an engagement. And then he like looks at Griffin because, like you say, he doesn't apologize, and she walks off and he's like, seriously? Like,
yeah. And then he grabs the box and throws it. Yeah.
So yeah, it was a good scene though. I was glad that she apologized.
Danny asks Scotty if she can look over the crew's paperwork so she can improve her documentation skills. Chief says, are you trying to be the teacher's pet, Miller? He throws money at her like he did in the first episode and says, go get lunch for everyone. Take Tim with you. She says, what about Griffin? Should he go with us? Chief says, no. Danny complains to Tim. She says, I asked to read other people's paperwork and I'm accused of sucking up. Griffin shows up late with donuts and he's not. Tim says, hey, don't let him get to you. And if it makes you feel any better, he didn't even let me have a donut.
Right.
I thought that was a funny line from Tim.
Yeah, he didn't give me a donut, so like, yeah, I think it's cute though. He's trying to defend her and help her to get past this. It's really cute.
Oh yeah. So Danny and Tim are at this Mexican restaurant picking up lunch. Danny says on Survivor, the winner always has a sad story. So she asks, what would be your sad story? He says, my father passed away from cancer right before I graduated from medical school, and I had to quit to take care of my mom. She shares she just quit a job, and she was praying in church, asking God what she should do with her life. She heard in her heart, rescue her. She started pursuing the EMT profession, even though her family thinks she is crazy. He says, I think you should get the job. Yeah. And I think that he should get the job. I mean, his story is better than hers.
I know, when they were talking about their stories, I was like, oh my gosh, like that poor guy, like all he had to go through to get to where he is in that moment. And he's still being like so considerate of her story. And I just thought that was so kind of him and so, mature, if you will. But yeah, it was both of their stories were amazing,
Yeah, that poor guy gave up a lot. Dropping out of medical school, take care of his mother.
Yes.
But this was a really good scene between the two of them. I think this is my favorite scene in the episode.
Yeah, they both kind of let their guard down and got a little bit more vulnerable. And I think that's going to bring them even closer as we see the series progress.
Okay, so back at the station, they get their second call of the episode. They get ready to eat lunch. Everyone sits down. But the call comes in. There's a traffic accident involving minors. The chief sends Liz, Duke, and Tim. Then the remaining crew start to eat again. And then they get another call about an injured male. So Scotty sends Ashley and Danny.
Yep.
Oh boy, here we go. So Ashley and Danny arrive at their call. It's an older gentleman who is down on the tennis court. He says he got lightheaded playing tennis and passed out, and he sprained his ankle when he fell. Danny diagnosed him with heat exhaustion. Ashley gets a call from Marcos. She says to Danny, "You got this. I'm going to take this call. Let me know if you need me." Danny puts the guy on a gurney and tries to put him in the back of the ambulance without asking Ashley for help. This does not go well. The gurney falls out of the back of the ambulance and tips over. The guy falls on the ground, hitting his head and shoulders. Ashley runs over and scolds Danny and gives her the look of death. She says, "You never load a patient alone. I'm going to have to tell the chief." And of course that she's going to have to tell the chief because they're going to have to fill out an accident report. Mm-hmm. So Cricket, I know when you were an EMT, I know you have a story very similar to this, don't you?
Well, it's a little bit different, but it is similar in the respect that those gurneys can fall over, as you can see in that show. Back when I was an EMT, we didn't have like the little button that will make it rise up or rise down. All we had was like handles that you had to pull in, and then you had to lift up manually and then, bring it down and release. So once you got the gurney into the ambulance, you could hit the release and the legs would pop up and they would kind of come up and go in, kind of like they still do now, but just a little bit different. It wasn't as advanced as the one that she's working in that scene. But yeah, you never load a patient, by yourself. I mean, that's a cardinal rule. My situation was I was already in the back of the cab of the ambulance at the head of where the patient's head was. And I was holding onto the gurney, and my evac driver, he was at the base or the other side of the gurney. So he was in charge of, hitting the buttons and the release and all that. And so when he put the front end in, I had my hands on the back of it, holding the gurney and ready to pull in and do my part. And he hit the button. And when he did, the whole ambulance or the whole gurney with the patient on it went down. And anybody who's driven an ambulance knows in the back that this, at least back when I was back in 93, 94, roughly, the bumper or the grate that you step into get into the ambulance, it would lift up. So when you're putting a patient in, you'd have to lift that up, and so it didn't get in your way when you were trying to get those wheels in. And so he didn't push that up, and so then when I'm trying to pull and he's doing the buttons, he releases it and my hands are underneath the front end, and my hand and like my body, we like go down together because the guy dropped onto this grated bumper thing. I don't know what it's called. It's it's something that it's the bumper where you would stand on to get into the ambulance. So he didn't put it up when the patient fell, and he was a heavy set man. Like literally my fingers were underneath the gurney, and I don't know how my hands didn't break. I don't know how. Honestly, I swear it was by the grace of God, and I say that saying that because of the show and everything. But literally, there was no rhyme or reason of how my hands were not completely mangled because of what had happened. And he had been diagnosed with a possible appendicitis. So when he dropped like that, it was very painful for him as well. So we, you have me screaming, him screaming, and it was just a bad scenario all around, and luckily the guy didn't tip over, but he ended up going and dropping to the ground once I got my hands out. And so, so we got him to the hospital, but he ended up having surgery for an appendicitis. So I felt so bad, even though it wasn't my fault, it was still my patient. So you never know what can happen. You got to follow the rules, and they're there for a reason. So, but
Now,
yeah.
how did you not fall forward and fall on top of the guy?
When the grate, I can't really give you an estimation, but the grate from where I was at was possibly 2 feet, 2.5 feet, maybe. So luckily I was small enough that when I went down, I don't know how I didn't like do a somersault over this
Uh-huh.
guy.
Yeah.
But somehow, some way I didn't. Again, I don't know. I was in really good shape back then, so maybe I was able just to control my body. I don't know, but it was the weirdest scenario possible, and I don't know how I came out of it without a scratch. I mean, I had little scratches on my hands, but I don't know how I didn't have broken bones. I mean, it was
Wow.
crazy. So when I saw that scene, it brought me back to what happened with me. But seeing, that gentleman fall on the ground, my heart dropped for her. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't
Oh,
imagine
yeah.
that felt him hitting his head. I mean, it was bad enough what happened to me, but having the patient hit their head like that, like, oh my gosh, I felt for her in
Mm-hmm.
that moment.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I think everyone watching probably gasped,
yes.
when they saw that.
Yes.
And the poor guy, they were treating him for dehydration and a sprained ankle, but now
Yeah.
he's going to the hospital with a concussion and a shoulder injury in
Right.
addition to those two
Exactly.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bad scenario because I don't know. I know they have like, insurance, malpractice insurance and that, but that's going to be a huge deal. I don't even, couldn't even imagine. I
Oh
don't even know if
yeah.
I could go back to work after that. I would feel so bad,
Oh, I
like, oh,
know. Oh yeah. Oh,
I give them props.
Jackie says that was hard to watch. Yeah, it was.
Yes, very hard to watch.
Yeah. But I did get a little chuckle the second time I watched the episode when she's lifting the gurney. She says to the guy,
Oh, yeah.
I think I can get it. And the guy
Right.
says, you think? Like, shouldn't you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not very convincing to somebody who's strapped into a gurney to hear those
I
words
know. I know.
when they're like, stranded and they have no way of getting out. And you're saying,
Uh, yeah, I think I can do this. So they get back to the station. The chief lets Danny have it, and he tries to calm him down by saying, we were all eager to prove ourselves at one time. Ashley chimes in and says she has great bedside manner. Yeah, yeah, she kills everyone she treats, but she has great bedside manner. The chief reaches down to his file cabinet drawer and pulls Danny's picture down, signifying that she has a strike against her.
yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when you're starting out, you are so nervous that you're going to do something wrong. You I mean, I can only imagine how she felt in that moment, being so new,
Mm-hmm.
not having any medical experience whatsoever. Thankfully for me, I was, military medical already. So when I became an EMT, it wasn't as difficult a transition for maybe somebody else. Um, but not having any medical training whatsoever, it would be a tough thing to learn so quickly and get that confidence because your life is in their hands and that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, her bedside manner, I did think she had really good bedside manner. I agree with them on that.
Mm-hmm.
As far as everybody trying to prove themselves, you do, but sometimes it can get you in trouble too. So as we can tell in that scene.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So then the other crew gets back from the car accident. Liz says there were two kids that got banged up pretty bad, and Duke is upset. He goes into the locker room and starts taking a drink from a flask. And I don't think it's Hawaiian Punch.
Yeah, I don't think it is either.
Yeah. Now, what do you think? You think Duke might have a drinking problem?
Honestly, without knowing his full history, um, a lot of people in that field, that profession, that have seen a lot of death, have seen a lot of circumstances that are out of their control,
Mm-hmm.
can sometimes have that PTSD, and that's how they deal with it. So it's hard to say if he had that problem before he became an EMT, or if it's something that he has now, started to try to ease the PTSD a little bit. It's hard to say without knowing more of his history of what exactly started all of that.
And this scene actually surprised me a little bit because I thought Duke was the level-headed one.
Yes, it surprised me too. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, in the first episode, Liz describes him as being the perfect medic. So I thought he was a stand-up guy with no demons, but apparently he does have some.
Yes.
I guess we all have them, right?
I think everybody has some skeletons in their closet.
Yeah. So Danny is in the garage practicing putting a gurney into the ambulance. Griffin walks up to talk. He says he is sorry about what happened to her. She says, it was my fault. I was trying to do too much. He opens up and says he is never good enough for his father. And Danny is surprised and says, you too, huh? Then Griffin is surprised that Danny doesn't come from a perfect family. Tim walks out with 2 cups of tea, one for him and one for Danny. He sees Griffin and Danny together, so he turns around and leaves. Griffin tells her she's going to be a good EMT. And then he says that his invitation is still open for a fun evening out on the town. She says, nice try, but I'm going to follow Scotty's rules. Tim and Danny are in the locker room. Yeah, and Tim asks Danny, are you getting intel on the enemy? Danny says, Griffin is not so bad. Tim asks, do I need to be worried about our alliance? And Tim says, or Danny says, no, not at all. But you know what? I think he does, because Danny is starting to soften up to Griffin.
I think you're right. There's a whole dynamic opening up right there.
And Griffin showed a little bit nicer side in that scene where he was talking to Danny by the ambulance there.
Yeah, for me, I'm still debating on if he is turning on the charm to distract her so he can become the EMT. You never know what people's intentions are.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it seemed very sincere, but again, I always proceed with caution. So I don't know yet. I'm still on the fence about him.
Ah, okay. That's interesting. You would say that. All right. Let me get back to there. Let's see. We hear someone yelling, and it's Duke having a nightmare. Marcos wakes him up and says, hey, what's going on? Marcos says, if you need to talk, I'm here. Or if you need a counselor, I know someone. And Duke's not having it. He says, get off my back. Leave me alone. So what do you think's going on here? Do you think Duke is suffering from PTSD?
I think he is. And again, without not knowing his history of what exactly he has PTSD from, he could have been prior military. He could have, it's hard to say, but some of these, calls and scenes that he goes to could be triggering him for whatever reason. So, I mean, he could have had something happen when he was younger, in his life. I mean, it's hard to know specifically where it's stemming from, but he is definitely suffering from PTSD, having nightmares. And then we see the alcohol abuse, especially when he's on the job. Like he needs help. He needs some serious help.
Yeah, for sure. And it'll be interesting to see as this season progresses what's going to happen with him.
Yeah.
So everyone is leaving at the end of their shifts. Danny finds a card and cupcake in her locker. And it is a nice card from Griffin that says, this is an invitation to the Epic Fail Club. First meeting redeemable at any time in the future. P.S. Homemade cupcakes help you forget the tough days. So Griffin is being nice. What is going on here?
Yeah, he is being nice. I mean, that was a good thing there. Good little gesture. It surprised me. I'm still on the fence. But I have to point out one thing, Chad.
What?
Because when I saw this scene, and I'm gonna deviate from the storyline for a second, but when I
Okay.
saw this scene and saw the envelope with the DonoFans, sign like this, even
That is the DonoFans sign. You're right. You're right.
I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if Trevor, because I know he has some say in certain things. Maybe he threw that in there, but then it said EF, the epic fail. So I was like, okay, well, we got the DonoFans represented on this show, even if it's not about Trevor. So had to put it
Ah,
out there.
oh, Kat is here. She says in the chat, I'm still on the fence about Griffin too. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What does he have ulterior motives? What's going on with him?
I don't know. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know. It's too early to say, but like I said, proceed with caution. I'm not getting those
Mm-hmm.
red flags with Tim. I'm getting them with
Mm-hmm.
Griffin, but I'm not getting them with Tim. But so we'll have to wait and see.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Whoops. Let me get the picture back up here. Hey, how'd you get on the top here? I'll put you on the bottom. There we go. All right, let's see. Oh, here comes another difficult scene. So Duke gets home from his shift. His wife wants to know why he's so late when his shift ended 2 hours ago. He says he needed to decompress before coming home.
Mhm.
So I was wondering
Mhm.
if he was at a bar slamming
Yep.
down a few. Is that what you were thinking?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Or he was
Yeah.
in his car or something, and he was trying to sober up.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. His kids want him to play games and he's not interested. His wife wants him to talk to her and he's not interested in doing that either.
Mhm.
He also doesn't know his daughter has been taking piano lessons, so he's pretty much out of touch with his family life.
Yeah.
He and his wife argue. He says, "Stop hounding me and leave me alone." She says, "You care more about serving the community than serving our family. We need a father and a husband around here, or I am done with this marriage." Oof.
Yeah, those are harsh words.
Oof. Yeah. So this was a scene, this was a hard scene to watch
Mhm.
for me, because I don't like to see spouses fighting. And
Yes.
so this was tough for me to watch. But you know what? This show is about EMTs and they have a stressful job. So a storyline and a scene like this should be included in a show like this.
Oh yeah, I agree with you 100% because I think it's important that the viewers understand that in real life these kinds of things happen all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You never know what happens behind closed doors, but even like my father was a police officer when I was growing up, and so many things behind closed doors would happen. But then he would go out in the community and serve. So you just never know what can happen behind closed doors and what in life is going to affect you and trigger whatever emotion or whatever stress you may have in your life at the time, and it will
Mm-hmm.
affect you. It's like a domino effect. If it's
Mm-hmm.
not looked at and taken care of, it will ruin your life.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Take
and
no
with
prisoners.
him seeing him drinking and everything, I wonder if we're going to see him like winding up getting counseling or wind up in AA or something like that.
Yes. I don't know, like in real life, if they give them opportunities to go to rehab and do all those things and still maintain their license. I don't know. Because I never was in that situation, thankfully. Um, but I don't know how all that works in the real world and civilian world, as I call it, nowadays or in real life. So hopefully they would have a program to take care of their own and get him the help that he needs and hopefully
Mm-hmm.
be able to get back out there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. A lot of good points there. So Danny gets a surprise visit from her parents.
Uh,
They surprise me and they surprise Danny when her mom asks, "How can we support you during this new phase in your life?" Whew, really?
you're like,
Really?
wait a minute, what
Yeah.
happened?
Well, yeah, where'd that come from? Danny opens up and tells them about the mistake she made loading the patient. Then they immediately turn on her and say, "Are you sure you're cut out for this?" Huh,
Right.
that didn't last long. Then her
I,
father says, "I
yeah.
wouldn't want you loading me into an ambulance." So woof, 1 minute they say they're going to support her, and the next minute they're doubting her again.
Yeah, I was speechless during this scene. I was hopeful when the mom was talking, like you said, and saying, "How can we
Yeah.
support you?" And
Yeah.
and then she felt comfortable to open up, and then all of a sudden, here is the whole like, "Are you regretting your decision you made?" And then the dad, "Oh, I wouldn't want you to." That is so
I
wrong.
know. I know. What a thing to say to your daughter. I wouldn't
Right.
want
I
you
was like,
taking
I
care
would
of
have
me.
said, you know what? You guys just need to leave. I mean, I think she
Well,
handled it well, but I'm just like, I don't know if I could have been so nice in that moment.
yeah, well, that's exactly what she does. Danny says, "Oh, forget it. Just get out of here." So she
Yeah.
kicks him out.
Yeah. I gotta
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Oh, what's Jackie saying here? Jackie says, "I hope the network takes the opportunity to shine a light on normalizing mental health." Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, Jackie.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So then Danny, after she kicks her parents out, she sits down and she messages Griffin. Whoa, what the heck? Is she going to take him up on his offer
Mhm.
for a night out on the town?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Thinking
And
so.
that's how the episode ends there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of surprised me. I thought she would have been texting Tim.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's a good point.
Didn't.
Yeah.
Didn't.
Yeah.
But I think
So,
that
what?
Griffin as the rebel too, in a way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tim's safe, but Griffin's the rebel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, Cricket,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on this episode?
I thought it was a very good episode. And quite honestly, I was hoping they lasted longer. It seems like just as soon
Mm-hmm.
as we get a couple scenes in, it's almost over already. And I'm like, no, I want
Mm-hmm.
to know what happens.
Mm-hmm.
um,
I'm not on that point. I'm not sure. I think this show was created for Great American Pure Flix, which is the streaming service, and there's no commercials on that streaming service. So they made the episodes 30 minutes, and then when you add in commercials and promos, they come out to 45 minutes.
I
But
see.
yeah, you're right. They could have added in, if it was made for TV, they could have added in like another 10 minutes, and then it would have been probably an hour long episode, you know?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But overall, though, I really enjoy the series. I'm excited to see the depth of each character as they unravel, if you will, during each episode.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because they all have different characteristics, different, ideologies of who they are and their personalities. And
Mm-hmm.
I love all the different dynamics. I'm very curious though to see how Griffin's role plays out with Tim and Danny,
Yeah.
because I mean, just from an outsider looking in, I'm thinking, okay, he gets all of these breaks. Like, are they trying to teach the newbies a lesson? Like, what's going on here? Is he in on? I don't know. There's just some red flags about Griffin. I can't get.
Kat is saying there are only 3 episodes left. Right. There are so many things to explore. We definitely need a second season. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I think Bill, in one of the Instagram lives, Bill kind of indicated or hoped maybe that there would be a second season. He kind of, when someone mentioned that. Yeah.
Good.
So hopefully that there will be,
Yeah.
especially if the last episode ends on a cliffhanger.
Oh, of
That we
course.
definitely need something
Can't
to
end it
wrap it up
there.
with. I know. I know. So in this episode, there's less action, there's less faith, but there's more drama.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And yeah, which I didn't mind.
Mhm.
And a couple tough scenes to watch. The gurney scene,
Yes.
and of course Duke at home duking it out with
Mhm.
his wife. You know.
Yeah,
But
that scene
what?
with
Go
the kids
ahead.
too.
What's that?
I said that was a tough scene with the kids
Yeah,
there
it
involved,
was. It was.
and
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine um, being the wife in that scenario. And I
Hmm.
guess for me, being on the other side of it too, you tend to understand a little bit more.
Hmm.
But the road he's going down is too dangerous. So it was a tough scene. You're right, though.
Yeah, he definitely needs help, or he's in trouble, and his family's
Hmm.
in trouble. Yeah,
It's sad.
and his job would be in trouble too if he's really drinking a lot.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure if you looked at the divorce rates of first responders and rescuers and that, I
Hmm.
would be curious to know what the divorce rate is in those families,
Hmm.
because it kind of reminds me of the military statistics as well. But yeah, it's not an easy job. It's a tough job to be in.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The one nice thing about this episode, Griffin redeems himself a little bit in this episode and shows a nice side of him,
Yeah.
which, like you said, you're not sure if you trust it or not, but he has it in him, maybe.
It was very sweet. And maybe he is very real in how he's treating her, and he's just being kind and sincere. I'm hopeful. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt until they prove me wrong. So we'll see. I thought it was a very nice gesture, the cupcake and the little, envelope. She really liked that. And but again, I don't know if that's his intention to get her distracted and to break a rule with him, or he's setting her up. I don't know.
So he warmed up to Danny, but he didn't warm up to Tim in this episode. He's kind of a little cold to Tim.
Tim is competition.
Yeah.
Tim is competition not only for as an EMT, but also as a potential love interest with Danny. That's how I feel anyway. I think that's why he's, thinking he's got this in with Danny, but he's charming his way in.
Yeah, well, if Danny's competition too, but if he kind of has a crush on Danny, then he would obviously be nicer to her than to Tim.
Possibly.
Yeah. So things I'm left wondering at the end of this episode, I'm wondering, did Danny send that text to Griffin? Because we don't see her hitting the send button. We just see her typing it. So did she erase it before she sent it? Or I don't know.
I guess we'll find out.
We will find out.
I don't know if she did or not. She said she would never break the rules, remember?
Yeah. So I don't know. We just see her typing it. That's all they show there.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'm left wondering, which we already talked about, is Duke going to have a drinking problem? We already talked about that.
Yeah. I think it's safe to say if he's sneaking it into his job, he has a problem.
Yeah, if he's got it in a flask in his locker.
Yeah, if he's that bold to bring it into the job, into his locker room, and be comfortable sitting there drinking it, he's been doing it for a while.
Yeah, that's
absolutely
true. Yeah. So, because Brad, the Christmas is Not Canceled game master, was supposed to be here for me with this episode, but since he couldn't make it, since he was going to be here, I came up with a little county rescue trivia that I was going to play with him, because he's always doing trivia questions for Christmas is Not Canceled.
Killing me, Chad. Killing me.
So I figured he's not here. I might as well throw these questions out at you.
Okay, well, I'll do the best I can.
I took the time to make up these questions. I don't want them to go to waste.
Now I'm going to feel bad if I don't get it right, Chad.
So I have some questions from this episode that we just chatted about, and I have some questions from the first episode. All right.
Okay.
So we'll start with the questions from this episode. You ready?
I think so.
How many months has Duke's daughter been taking piano lessons? And if you need choices, I have choices here. If you need choices,
give me choices. I think I know the answer, but give me choices.
Okay. Is it 2, 3, 4, or 5?
Oh gosh, that didn't help me.
That didn't help.
I want to say 2, but I bet it's 4.
That's 3.
Yes. Okay. Hey, I was kind of all around it, right?
Duke's wife said 3 months.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't pick up on that.
All right, next up. Okay, this one's easy. You'll get this one.
I better.
What type of snack does Chief Scotty offer Marcos and Duke in his office?
Slim Jims.
Nah, you got that one. You don't even need the choices. Okay.
No, I knew that one.
You knew that one. You know that.
That's a quick snack to eat when you're busy.
Yeah. Okay, here's a tough one.
Oh, gosh.
What was the name of the guy that Danny dumped off the gurney? All right. Was it Avery, Ian, Everett, or Nicholas?
Is it Everett?
Everett. Oh, you got it.
Yes.
You got it. Oh, I thought that would be a tough one. You nailed it. You're doing good.
I
You're
was
doing
thinking
good.
back when that lady was talking about when he went down, the other lady that was telling them what was the history was going on at the scene or whatever.
All right. All right. You only missed one so far, right? You're doing good.
Yep, that's it so far.
All right. Now we're on to the first episode. Okay.
Okay.
How many jobs has Danny had in 3 years? Is it 4, 5, 6, or 7?
I want to say 7.
7. Ding, 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 ding. You got it right. It was 7.
Woo!
Okay. All right. All right. I can't stump you. All right. Moving on. What is the name of Danny's ex-fiance?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me this. Andrew?
I'll give you some choices.
Okay, give me choices because I obviously got it wrong already.
All right. Is it Hunter, Harold, Andy, or Ben?
Hunter?
Oh, you got it.
Wow. For the multiple choice, I would have got it.
Okay. Yeah, if it weren't for the multiple choice. Yeah, that's true. Okay. So you only missed one so far.
Well, yeah.
All right. All right. This is the last question.
Okay.
When washing the ambulance, where did Tim say he would like to go? Do you need it? Let me know. Let me know if you need choices.
I need choices.
All right. Is it Paris, Poland, Portugal, or Portland?
Poland.
Poland, you got it. All right. You got it. Man, you did good. You did good
Yeah.
on those. You only missed one.
I couldn't remember that first one. I thought it was 2 or 4. I couldn't remember 3.
So, Cricket, thank you so much for stepping in
Hey.
here at the last minute and filling in.
No problem. Thanks
I really appreciate this.
Hey, no problem. It was a lot of fun, and I was glad to be able to talk about my EMT days.
You know, my dad always said, a friend in need is a friend indeed. So you are definitely a friend, Cricket.
Thank you, Chad. You are too. I appreciate that. Hey, we have to be there for each other because we live in this crazy world. So
that's right. That's right. So tell people what's going on with your podcast? Anything coming up?
Right now, we're kind of waiting until after the Movie Guide Awards and that, and then we may be doing some more interviews with the DonoFans.
Okay.
But we'll have to play it by ear, see what happens. But nothing really on the radar quite yet. I know Trevor has a couple movies, I think he said on his interview on the red carpet, that he's working on upcoming, but we don't know anything about them. The only movie we really know about is that Reagan one that they're going to release, I think, in the spring.
Yeah, hopefully maybe we'll get a movie from him in the summer or fall or something, maybe.
Yes.
Maybe we won't have to wait till Christmas, we'll see.
Yeah. I hope not. That's an awful long time, Chad.
Yeah. So tell people your social media handles so they can follow you.
Absolutely. I'm at Dishing with the DonoFans on Instagram, and then on Twitter, it's at DishingDonoFans. So yeah, go to our page, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's also Dishing with the DonoFans, and come see what we're all about.
All right. And Jackie says, nice job. Thanks, Jackie.
Thanks, Jackie.
So let the network know what you thought of this episode by clicking on the movie review link on their website at greatamericanfamily.com. And don't forget the Movie Guide Awards tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern on Great American Family. And the third episode of County Rescue streams Friday on Great American Pure Flix and airs Monday on Great American Family. And I believe next week, Amanda Moon is going to be joining me to recap that episode.
All right.
What's Kat saying here? So glad Cricket could step in. Great insight with her EMT experience. Yeah, I agree,
Thanks,
Kat. I was glad she was able to join me because she did have some good insight. I knew she'd be good because of her background in EMT. Thanks, Kat.
Thanks, Kat.
And also on Friday, I am going to be chatting with Tanya Christensen, who plays Danny's mom. So that'll be fun.
Yeah. Can't wait to see that.
Yeah. So until then, you keep the faith, keep smiling, keep your friends close and keep your great American family closer. Thanks again, Cricket.
Thank you, Chad. See you later.
Bye.